What's up guys, Jake here, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about the home mortgage deduction and potentially why it's not that beneficial to you. I've already made a couple videos about home ownership if you want to check them out. This one's about the difference between a 15 and a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, which one's better for you. And this video is an alternative method to help you pay off your house the fastest. I'll link those down below if you want to check them out. And paying off your home is really important, especially for people in the FIRE community, financially independent, retire early. Having that mortgage can feel too risky when you want to retire early. Additionally, if you're trying to retire traditionally, at the age of 60, 65, whatever, once again, paying off your house and not having that mortgage payment every month is super important. However, you will be told things. You will hear things from people along these lines. Don't pay off your house, you will lose the tax deduction, or keeping your mortgage is a great tax write-off. This is baloney. This really isn't true at all, and I'm going to demonstrate why in this video. First thing you need to know is that when you do your taxes, TurboTax or H&R Block, they're going to ask you a bunch of annoying questions. The reason why is they're trying to determine which is better for you, itemizing your deductions or taking the standard deduction. However, for most people, when you're answering all these questions, it's a waste of time. The reason why is because 90% of Americans take the standard deduction. They don't have enough itemized deductions to overcome the standard deduction. And you don't get both. It's not you get the standard and then you get to tack on any additional deductions. It's one or the other. You only get one. The most common itemized deductions are charitable contributions, medical expenses, home mortgage interest payments, and state and local taxes. However, especially since 2017, the standard deduction was raised. It was raised to $25,100 for a married couple. It's $12,550 if you're single. And since it was raised, which is great because more people are getting a tax savings, but because the standard deduction is so high now, like I said, less than 10% of people actually have enough itemized deductions to claim a larger itemized deduction amount. So we're going to do some examples and I'll explain to you exactly why this is. But first, if you're not familiar with marginal tax brackets, we're going to do an example of a married couple filing jointly. But let's just think about how do marginal tax brackets work? And we'll do a single person first as an example. So your raw income, your total salary for the year, you get to claim a deduction, either the standard or your itemized. What is remaining is your taxable income. And for a single person, they pay 10% to the federal government on the income between $0 and $9,875. They then pay 12% on additional money between $9,000 and $40,000. They then only pay 22% on the income between $40,000 and $85,000. They pay 24% just on the income between $85,000 and $163,000. So forth and so forth. This is a progressive tax system. Now, for a single person, when you let's assume they have $100,000 worth of taxable income. So this is after their deductions. When you do the math, they're paying about $18,000 in federal taxes, so 18% just on their taxable income. And I'm making an assumption in this video that most people buying a home are a married couple. Let's do an example of a married couple with a household income of $100,000. Now, the tax brackets work the same, 10%, 12%, 22%, 24%, but the numbers get doubled almost because there's two people in the household. So a married couple is only paying going to pay 10% on their income combined between $0 and $19,000, and they're paying 12% on their income between $19,000 and $80,000, so forth and so forth. So when you actually do the math of a married couple whose total income is $100,000, if they take the standard deduction of $25,100, their taxable income is $74,900. Meaning they never even reach the 22% tax bracket. They don't reach the 24 or the 32. So their federal taxes, if completely simplifying it, is $8,593. So 11.4% of their taxable income, but only 8.6% of their total household income. So I've told you that 90% of Americans take the standard deduction for married couples filing jointly. So when you hear people say, don't pay off your house, you will lose the tax deduction, or keeping your mortgage is a great tax write-off, these people are probably taking the standard deduction and they don't understand that they're not getting any tax savings this year. If they actually were itemizing, if they understood their own taxes, then they would know they were itemizing and they had other things like charitable contributions or medical expenses that was causing them to overcome their standard deduction. And the confusion, I think, the reason why people have this misconception about the home mortgage deduction is because people don't understand the difference between a tax deduction and a tax credit. Tax deductions lower your taxable income. Tax credits just save you on taxes. So what is an example of a tax credit? Well, if you had a child or dependent in your household, then you just pay less in taxes. Tax credits don't reduce the calculation for your income. They just save you on your raw tax bill. So let's do an example with numbers to demonstrate why the home mortgage deduction really isn't that good. And you can find these amortization schedule calculators on the internet. Let's assume that you bought a house or you have a house with a remaining mortgage of $300,000 and you got a really good rate, 3.5% APR. Now you're paying about $875 in interest per month. Now that amount you're paying in interest goes down every month. According to the schedule, the amount going to principal increases every month. The amount going to interest to the bank goes down every month. But let's just go ahead and fix it at $875, multiply it by 12. You're only paying $10,500 in mortgage interest that year. Yes, that's a lot of money. However, for a married couple, your standard deduction is $25,100. You didn't even come close. You didn't even come to 50% of what you needed to have more itemized deductions than the standard deduction for a married couple. So if you're filing jointly and you have a mortgage remaining of $300,000 or less, you don't even come close to overcoming the standard deductions. You're going to need charitable contributions or medical debt or other itemized deductions before this is relevant or useful to you at all. But let's pretend like it was useful for you. Let's pretend like the standard deduction for a married couple was lower. Would it still make sense to keep your mortgage payment for the tax deduction? And this is once again confusing to people. But it doesn't make sense to keep a payment to save on taxes. So let's pretend you could pay off your mortgage, but you didn't want to because you wanted to keep the tax deduction. Well, if for every $100 you're paying to your mortgage lender, you're getting back from the government $12 in tax savings if you were using the home mortgage deduction. It doesn't make sense. If you don't have to pay this $100, then you just save $100. Paying $100 to get $12 back when you're in this 12% marginal tax bracket, that's not a good reason to keep your mortgage if you are capable of paying it off. The same is true for a single person. Let's pretend that you're single and you bought a really expensive house. Now, yes, if you can't pay it off and the home mortgage deduction overtakes the standard deduction you can claim as a single person, then yeah, it's nice you had to pay $100 and you got $24 back in tax savings. However, once again, if you have the savings, if you have the money, and you can pay off your mortgage, you should, because then you just save $100. You know, the taxes are irrelevant. The point I'm trying to make in this video is that it never makes sense to keep a liability just to keep a tax deduction. Tax deductions are supposed to reduce the hurt, reduce the pain on a burden that you're experiencing, such as medical debt, or it's to incentivize you with charitable contributions. However, if you just didn't make charitable contributions, then you save that money. You know, once again, paying $100 or donating $100 to get $24 back, that's not a good deal for you. It's a small incentive on something you were going to do anyways. So if you can't pay off your home and you have to pay all this interest and it somehow overtakes the standard deduction for a single person, then that's nice. But once again, don't keep liabilities just to keep tax deductions. The math doesn't add up. And something that people say about the home mortgage deduction is that it only benefits rich people, people who buy really expensive houses. And I don't really think this is true either. So the max you can claim for the home mortgage deduction right now is a house with a $750,000 mortgage. So let's say you got a $750,000 home at 3.5%. So you're paying $2,100 in interest a month, or about $26,000 a year. So if you're married, you just barely, by less than $1,000, overcame the standard deduction for a married couple. So it's better by like $900. But once again, even if you're rich, it doesn't make sense to not pay off your home to get the tax deduction, because if you can pay it off, why, even if you're in this top tax bracket, let's say you're a super high income earner with a $750,000 home, it doesn't make sense to pay $100 to get $32 back when you don't have to pay the $100. And there you have it, guys. I hope I cleared up any confusion with the home mortgage deduction. Once again, virtually nobody benefits from this deduction. However, lots of people, lots of homeowners, it makes them feel good to say, hey, I'm getting a tax write-off or I'm getting a tax deduction, when those people don't actually understand how their taxes work and they're not really benefiting at all. Okay guys, if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up so the algorithm knows it's good. In addition, consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. I talk a lot about finance and investing topics. If you have any questions or comments, or have a video topic idea for me to cover, leave me a comment down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, take care.